Hello everyone. Mainly in UPSC aspirants will be having one big problem, a big issue type of, that how to read the newspaper. What are the topics we need to cover in the newspaper? Which newspaper we need to read? These are the questions which will be with all the aspirants who are starting the UPSC preparation, mainly civil services examination. So here I want to decode that and I want to explain you how we need to do, how we need to read newspaper. I am going to explain you now. How? The topic is how to read a newspaper. So today I am going to discuss you how to read a newspaper. What are the topics we need to cover? Whether we need to read the newspaper from the beginning of the paper title to the end of the paper. Some students, I know some of the students who will be reading the newspaper for 4 hours, 5 hours. No. 1 hour, maximum 2 hours is the time you have to allocate for the newspaper. Minimum 1 hour or 1 hour. I won't say 1 hour, minimum 1 hour. 1 hour, maximum 2 hours. You should not cross more than 2 hours. This is the first thing which I want to tell you. Yes, reading newspaper is intertwined with UPSC civil services examination. UPSC preparation and newspaper reading are mutually inclusive. Both are not mutually exclusive, both are mutually inclusive. Both are together. Both will be going hand in hand, both will be going together. Both are interrelated. So we cannot neglect the importance of newspaper. Yes, there are a lot of evidences where the questions were being directly taken from the newspaper. Not the questions, but apart from questions also, we will get lot of examples. We will be getting lot of case studies which we have to use in your GS preparation, not only in GS preparation, in optional preparation also. If your optional is anthropology, if your optional is political science, international relations, if your optional is, yes, public administration, what not, all the optionals for general studies preparation, newspaper is intertwined. Newspaper and UPSC preparation both will be going hand in hand. How to read the newspaper is the topic which I am going to discuss, and I am going to take the today's newspaper and I will tell you a broad outline, a very good knowledge how to read the newspaper by selecting the topics. So why is reading newspaper important? Yes, the significance of reading the newspaper is exaggerated, true, with the preparation of civil services examination. We cannot separate the civil services examination preparation with newspaper reading. Both will be going hand in hand. Yes, the newspaper cannot be exaggerated for success in competitive examination. Means not only the UPSC preparation but also in, yes, aspirant should know that it is not necessary to read. This is also very, very important. Aspirant should know that it is not important to read the total newspaper. No need to read the total newspaper. You have to select some articles and you have to read such articles only. Maximum 5 articles which will be useful for your UPSC preparation. Rest all are not necessary for your UPSC preparation. For example, sports column. What you are going to read, what you are going to do with respect to reading sports column. You are not into the sports, you are not a sports news anchor. Business also, how much is required for your economic preparation, only that article you have to select. So selective reading of newspaper is inevitable. Again I am telling, yes, newspaper reading is inevitable, and in that inevitability the selective reading is most important rather than reading everything. The second thing is a whole newspaper is detailed as part of your UPSC examination. There are some do's and don'ts which when followed give maximum benefit. Means what are the do's while reading the newspaper, what are the don'ts while reading the newspaper is very important. So you have to understand while reading newspaper also there are some conditions. What are the do's? What are the don'ts? What are the news items we have to read? What are the news items which I should not read? So the first thing I want to tell you that yes, newspaper and UPSC preparation are intertwined. And number 2, not all the newspaper is important. Only selective items or selective articles are important in UPSC preparation. Third, the most recommended newspaper for the IAS preparation is, some people will be telling the Hindu newspaper, some people will be telling Telegraph, or some people will be telling different variety of newspaper. But I recommend you 2 newspapers. 2 newspapers, you can select any one. One is the Hindu, other is the Indian Express. The most recommended newspaper for the IAS exam is the Hindu newspaper. Along with newspaper, you must also refer to the following for a complete picture of the events that are of national and international. So apart from newspaper, you have to read some other things. That also I will be mentioning here. But the most recommended, most popular newspaper for the sake of preparing for UPSC civil services examination is Hindu newspaper. But I recommend personally, yes, Hindu newspaper is important. Don't neglect Indian newspaper, Indian Express also. Indian Express is also very good newspaper. So what more I have to read, sir? See, I mentioned here the Hindu and the Indian Express. Both will go hand in hand. And if you ask me more personally, I will recommend the Indian Express. The most recommended newspaper for the competitive examinations. Both these are the two newspapers which are recommendable for competitive examinations. For all the competitive examinations, so I want to make it generalized. And the same generalization is also applicable to the particular called as UPSC Civil Services Examination, UPSC CSC. So apart from newspaper, what I have to read for polity? Apart from newspaper, what I have to read? Under polity, government press conferences where policy schemes reforms are announced. Whenever the government announces the new policies like national education policy, whenever the government announces new schemes like gold scheme for tribal societies, whenever the government is planning for a new draft bill, then so those items you have to cover. Those items you have to cover. So government press conferences. So new schemes, new policies, new bills which are envisaged by the government of India, you have to prepare. No need to read the state government bills. No need to follow the state government schemes. Only the schemes which are already formed but became very, very successful, like Kutumbasri of Kerala, you can read. You can go through it. Number 2, important bills in the parliament. You can also see the advertisements by the ruling party. Some advertisements will be Atmanirbhar advertisements. Various new schemes advertisements. What are the steps taken by the government in order to contain the COVID-19? Those all you have to read. Why? Because it's the ruling party. It is the government. Ruling party means government, council of ministers headed by the prime minister. Where they list their achievements, this will be you a list of developmental schemes and their provisions. You will know which ministry deals with what schemes. And you should also understand, while reading the newspaper, oh, this is the scheme belongs to this ministry. This is the scheme belongs to this ministry. You have to articulate it. You need to articulate it. Election related news like reforms by the Election Commission, yes. These are the points you have to cover from the newspaper. These are the points you have to cover from the newspaper, and you have to make your own notes, and it should be in your notebook. News related to the constitution, any amendments are happening. Supreme Court and High Court judgments. High Court judgments also important. Supreme Court judgments also important with respect to relevance. With relevance to your topics. Parliamentary debates. What are the parliamentary debates happening? For example, Citizenship Amendment Act which happened. Huge debate happened. Huge uproar happened in Parliament. Logjam happened at Telangana formation bill. So what is that debate all about? Why? Because we will be asking the questions, the UPSC will be asking the questions on those topics only. So these topics you have to cover from the newspaper with respect to Indian polity. Which you should not focus. This you have to focus, which you should not focus. Press conferences by political parties. One political party will be criticizing another political party. Not required only. Who defeated whom in the by-elections? Not required. Who is the winner? Who is the loser? When the elections are going to conduct? How elections are happening? Not required. Never follow this. Only follow these aspects. If you cover these aspects from your newspaper, these are the polity topics which you covered. Finish. Yes. National news is what to do. National news is what you need to cover. News of national importance. News of national importance. COVID-19 national importance. Now a new strain of corona is coming from UK. That is important, national importance. Why? Because there will be national emergency, national health emergency. If that corona enters into our India, that is national importance. What are the steps taken by the government of India? Recently flooding happened. Lot of floods In the metropolitans like Hyderabad, what are the steps taken by the government? How to control the floods? What are any innovative ideas taken by that particular state government or that particular municipal corporation in order to contain the floods? Yes. So those will be the new ideas, innovative ideas. You can write in your answer. You can impress the evaluator. So in that way you have to make your notes. Floods means not only floods. Any new idea is mentioned in the newspaper, the new idea should be in your answer. And while writing an answer, you have to write like, this is the new idea which has been implemented in that particular state or city, which we can use pan-India. So that means you are giving the knowledge to the evaluator. Obviously, if I am evaluator, I will give you the marks. Like any other human being. If you are evaluator also, you will feel happy by reading the answer. You have to think only one thing. Whenever you are writing an answer, you have to think that if you evaluate your answer, whether you are feeling happy or not. When you will feel happy? When there is a diversified answer, dynamic answer, technology related points are there. Those all points you have to cover from the newspaper, which is having national importance. For instance, if there is a massive railway mishap, focus on why it happened and how the country is lacking in a comprehensive disaster management plan. A train accident happened. How it happened? How to address such accidents? A man-made accident, it's not a natural disaster, it's a man-made disaster. Man-made disaster means we can stop it. Why we failed, where we failed, what are the reasons behind it, and how we can stop it from further accidents. Like that you have to read the newspaper. You don't have to remember the precise number of deaths. No, people will remember deaths also, not required. 4,372 members, 530 members became injured, not required. A number, 4,000 people died, approximately 4,000 people died. Why? Because there in the mains, they are going to test your skill, your knowledge, your understanding, your analytical capability. Not your factual things, not your memory. Your memory is tested in prelims only. And UPSC never bothered about the memory thing. UPSC bother only about the analytical thing. So understand it. From reading newspaper, grasp the information. The same goes for natural calamities. In this case, also read about the geography behind the calamities. Why it is happening? Landslides only in Himalaya. Why not in Deccan? Why not in Western Ghats? So the geography is playing a major role. Do research. Again, while reading newspaper, use Google. While reading newspaper, use Google as much you can. So the doubts will be clarified. Or your mentor is there, or your teacher is there, or your senior is there, or your friend is there. Ask doubts. Then you will get the clarity. While reading newspaper, don't complete the newspaper with a question mark. Research it. Let it be. Do research and find the answer. That type of questions will be asked in the UPSC preparation. News related to ISRO, space, any scientific developments in the DRDO, in the country are important. For example, now biotechnology is playing a major role. Why? Because if we want a medicine for COVID, we need to have a very good biotechnology. So what are the innovations happening with respect to biotechnology? Contemporary, any news coming up with respect to biotechnology, focus. Why? Because the current affair is biotechnology. Why? Because COVID is because of failure of biotechnology, because of failure of pharmaceutical industry. Not to do. Political news like an ex-party member blames a person of another party for taking bribes. One political member criticizing another political member. Least bother. This is how we have to do the national topics, how we have to do the political topics, how we have to do the economic topics. What to do, what not to do. Government press releases related to SEBI, venture capital, SEBI new information which is coming out, planning commission, now it is Niti Aayog. So planning commission came to an end. Niti Aayog. So what is the difference between the programs of planning commission, programs of Niti Aayog? Whether the same problem, how planning commission dealt, how Niti Aayog dealt, that is the reason. Whether planning commission is best or Niti Aayog is best. RBI news, banking reforms news, reforms in the economy, agriculture, industry, etc. These all things you need to cover. You have to compare. That is the reason I put here Planning Commission. You should not just understand Niti Aayog. Why? Because Niti Aayog, before Niti Aayog, what was been there? Planning Commission was been there. So how the Planning Commission used to dealt with the economic problems, how Niti Aayog is dealing with economic problems, any difference is there? One difference is Niti Aayog is a federal body, Planning Commission is centralized body. So how their approach is, if you write your answer like this, no, you will get maximum marks. So from newspaper itself, we need to be in a position to analyze NASSCOM, ASSOCHAM, pressure groups of business, related news that affects business, indicators like GDP, HDI, IIP, the absolute number not as important as reason behind. You have to find the reason behind it. Yes, ranking is important of India. Yes, remember the ranking of India and who releases the report. What is the objective of the ranking? Why India is in this particular rank? You need to know the reasons. Not to do nitty-gritty of the share market. Scam 1992 Harshad Mehta. No, don't bother about it. Nitty-gritty up and down, bull, bear, not required. Any policy change, any new innovative idea came in share market, that is important for your mains examination. So you should be in a position to select appropriate topic. International news, we will feel very interesting. What this North Korean Kim Jong-un is doing, or what is happening in Iran, what is happening in Israel. No, we are least bothered. We are bothered with respect to exam orientation, the world and India. The relationship between the world and India. What is that relationship? Visits of the Prime Minister and the President, where he visited, any new agreements made with that country, which Prime Minister or President visited that country, or any Prime Minister or President of that country visited India. That is important. The treaties and agreements signed on such bilateral visits, means India signed which treaties and which agreements. Why it is so important? Whether economically important or politically important or socially important. International organizations, like where are the international organizations are conducting? What is the India's significance? What are the outcomes? What are the outcomes of the summit? For example, Paris Climate Summit. We came with intended nationally contributed, committed agreements. So we are going to reduce our national emissions, carbon emissions nationally. What are those? So outcomes. So those outcomes you have to focus. International organizations like UN, ASEAN, WHO, IMF and their reports, their publications, India's role in them also should be read. So what is the role of India? In Paris Climate Summit, India's role is paramount, appreciable. World Trade Organization was against National Food Security Act. Why the World Trade Organization is against our act called as National Food Security Act, whereby the government of India is planning to provide 2/3 of the population with subsidized food grains. What is the problem with World Trade Organization? In that format we have to do. India is telling our people are suffering with hunger. I want to provide subsidized food grains to 66.6% of Indian population, but WTO is against it. Why? It is our inner policy. You are determining our sovereignty, you are determining our internal policies. In that context you have to read. Major political events in other countries that have possible international ramifications, like a military coup. So if in other countries any international ramification, an international thing which happened, like military coup happened suddenly, a major disaster happened, a nuclear disaster or any war happened between other countries. So those points you have to cover, not everything. This you have to do in international organization. General knowledge point of view, climate change news, global warming. News related to environment and ecology. What are the new species which are getting IUCN status? Science and technology news, like major developments in the science field, very, very important. Prelims, lot of questions will come from this. News about any endangered species, any species becoming extinct, that we need to know. So that as an IAS officer, you will be aware, oh, this is a species which is going to become extinct. General knowledge point of view, environment point of view, this is very, very important. So in this way, you have to follow your newspaper. News to avoid. Never open these news items. Never. Entertainment news. This movie is going to release this day. This hero is having affair with that person. Not required. Entertainment news is not at all required. Sport news, unless it is your hobby mentioned in the DAF, in your interview detailed application form, you should not read your sports. If it is mentioned in your DAF detailed application form of your mains, then only you have to read about the news items. If not, not required. Also, the news is related to polity administration, you should read it. For example, Cricket Board, BCCI, Administration of Cricket in India, BCCI, any news with respect to BCCI. Then you have to write about it. Then you have to read about it. State news, unless it has a larger national implication, yes. For example, Farakka barrage, where Mamata Banerjee is against it. So it is disturbing the international bilateral relationship between India and Bangladesh. Then that news, that state news you have to read. Jammu and Kashmir, which is having implication on India and Pakistan. Arunachal Pradesh, which is having implications on India and China or Myanmar. Then you have to read it. Tamil Nadu, if it is having implications with respect to India and Sri Lanka, then you have to read it. Regional news should be avoided. As much you have to stop reading regional news unless you are preparing for the UPSC. In UPSC interview, you need to read about the regional news. 100%. If something happened in your state, Polavaram Dam in Andhra Pradesh, you have to read about it. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel statue in Gujarat. You are from Gujarat, you have to know everything about the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel statue. Recently elections happened in your state, then you have to read the regional news of your state. Specific, clear, clarity of thought. Which articles you have to read, which articles you should not read. Avoid all masala news items. Never. Never. Once you read about Sushant Singh Rajput or that Riya Chakrabarti, finish, done, close it. Close it, finish, done. No need to go, that is called masala news. No, never. So we have to stop this masala news. This news, compulsory, we have to avoid. A big no. A big no. The important topics to focus in your newspaper: polity and governance related, international affairs and bilateral relations, agriculture relations, environment and climate change related, economic and monetary issues, women and child rights. These are the news where you have to focus and you have to write in your notes also. Not reading newspaper, you will get marks. Never. It should be remembered, no? Everyone is human being. If you read the newspaper by 3-4 hours, we will forget. So you have to write in your notes. In newspaper also, you have to maintain a book. A notes we have to make, so that whenever it comes, you have to read it again. In your notes, revision you have to do. Appropriately you have to use in your answers. Or direct question comes from prelims, you can remember and you can write in the prelims paper. This is what? Internal security, international trade, natural disasters, science and technology, sports, if it is hobby, health and nutrition, very, very important, wildlife and habitat related. These are the news items which you need to cover from the newspaper. Keep a heading in your notes, and whenever this news item is coming, open your notebook and write the point. Finish, enough. No requirement of any coaching, nothing, current affairs. You covered the current affair. Like that you do for 1.5 years, finish. Your current affairs preparation has been done. No need for any material, no need for any magazine, no need for any PDF. This, your notes is enough. Now your notes is a gold mine. Just again you have to do mining by doing revision. You created the gold mine, once again do mining and find the appropriate diamonds in that. In this way you have to read the newspaper. So now I will open today's newspaper and I will show how I am going to select the news items. Yes, follow me. Yes, so today, 25th December, Christmas, the newspaper I will be discussing. See here. Government renews offer for dialogue. Center reiterates commitment to finding a solutions to issues raised by farmer. Don't read it. Don't read it. Now they are into negotiation. Finally, after 2-3 months, they will come to a conclusion. So what is the conclusion? You have to read, that's it. Now you don't read this. Then here, over 6,000 travelers from UK traced. Not required. You already know a new strain came. Not required. Britain, EU clinch Brexit trade deal. Yes, what is this trade deal? So this much only information. Read this article. What is this trade deal? Brexit trade deal. Go up. India files appeal against Vodafone case verdict. So you have to understand what is this Vodafone case verdict. What is this case, you have to know. That's it. Economic revival beating predictions, RBI bulletin. Yes, what is this RBI bulletin? How we can revive it? What the RBI is telling. So how many articles you got now? 3. ABVP returns not required. DJP office not at all required. Plea for SIT probe into alleged custodial death during Delhi riots. Faizan seen in video of 5 injured men singing national anthem. Not required. Fuel stickers. Construction major printouts of the building. So out of the first newspaper, I will reading, if I am preparing now, I will be reading only 3 articles. I will be reading only 3 articles. What is this Vodafone case? What is this Brexit deal? How economic revival according to RBI. 1, 2, 3. Just put an cross mark. So, how many minutes I took? 30 seconds I took. First paper finished. Second paper. Teens to elderly volunteer protest site. Not at all required. Center owes 600 crore to North Body employees. Not required. BJP installs LED screens across 125 villages in city. Why? Why? So this can be an example for village development. Why is it so? 1 article. DDA suggests 12 notes. Not required. Finished. Second paper finished. I got only 1 news. Overall, how many news items in the newspaper up to now? 4 items. 5th. Delhi ready to receive vaccine from center. Not required. Capital witnesses new COVID cases. Not at all required. Panel for reducing number of reserved ICU beds. Not required. Several churches to stay shunt on Christmas. You know why? Because of COVID-19. Not required. Delhi riots. Not required. Old story. No respite for city from severe AQI. Air quality index. Not. What is this air quality index? You have to do research. What is this air quality index? Second news. 5th item. 5th item. What is this air quality index? Next paper. Yes. Akbar denies meeting Priya Ramani. Not required. ABBP activists. Not required. Advertisements. Not at all required. Hathras remand order court not empowered. Not required. Hathras incidents. Old story. Not required. At that time you already read. If you are starting now, what is this Hathras incident? Just go through it through Google. Manipur's Jomi people push for BTC-like council. What is this BTC-like council? Very, very important. Regionalization, regional development. What is this? BTC, Bodo Land Territorial Council. The Manipur is asking for Jomi people. Who are these Jomi people? So this is very important. If your optional is anthropology, this is very, very important. 6 items. Farmers protest truth and half-truths. No, don't read this article. Don't read this article. Why? Because we didn't came to a conclusion. Your exam is long. Time is there. So when it comes to a conclusion, then the articles will come. When we come to a conclusion, when the government will come to a conclusion, at that time read the articles. No, not requirement of reading this article. Learning to let go. India must ensure policy stability and not rely on retrospective laws to levy tax. Not required. MGR's mojo. What you will do? Regional news. Regional news. Not at all required. Finish. Letters to the editor. I recommend you. I personally, when I was been preparing, I was been reading these letters to editor. Why? Because yesterday's article, some conclusions will be given here by the readers. So you will come to some conclusions, some rational decisions. You can read this. Are children being introduced to coding too early in life? General essay. 2020 general expected questions. Whoever are writing mains, please read this essay. 2021 also, that advertisement is there, no? Coding, child is leaving everything and is doing coding. Not required. White hat or some hat is there. Not required. But here, means in this context for 2020 mains and 2021 mains, you have to read. Whether it is very early, premature for the children to learn the coding. This you read. Essay point of view. Current affair, no? Tackling an existential crisis and informal alliance. Not required. News from this day, that age, not required. That age, what is the news today? No night curfew in Karnataka regional news. Kerala wants Shabarimala pilgrims. Government moves Supreme Court against High Court order. Not required. Government renews offer to farmer for dialogue. Not required. 6,000 travelers. Not required. Kerala again seeks governor's node for assembly session. Not required. But Kerala again seeks governor's node. You have to understand the polity point of view. Why Kerala government is asking governor's node? Polity point of view means running of the state legislature, the procedure of the state legislature, that you have to understand here. Enforcement attaches fixed deposits, cash in gold smuggling case not required. Economic revival, there it came again, it is important. Revival beating predictions, RBI bulletin. What the RBI bulletin is telling? Jumbo menace worries AP farmers. What is this AP farmer? Jumbo. Inspector sustains but not required. Watcher killed in Nagarhole. Dam outside struggle to find a place for the dead. Those hit by Kondapochamma project in Telangana's Mamidiyalli village question official apathy. This is regional point of view, not required. Prime Minister charged a travesty of truth, not required. India is now an imaginary democracy, says not at all required. Kejriwal is in contempt of Rajya Sabha, not required. This is Delhi paper. Olympic team should revive priority for vaccine. Congress tie-ups with left in West Bengal. Unions boycott consultation on draft rules for labor codes. What is this labor codes? What is this labor codes? This labor codes, you don't bother about it. But you analyze what is this labor codes. Read this labor codes. Yes, this is not required. Then Vishwa Bharati, essence of self-reliance. Modi says India is taking the message of the university founded by Thakur. What is this Vishwa Bharati University? That's it. Don't read everything. What is this Vishwa Bharati University? Why it is significant? I was not invited by university, says Mamatha, not required. Agro Park to come up in Singur. Why? Singur, West Bengal. Center may accept Sumi's ceasefire offer, not required. Internal security point of view, but this much detail not required, exam point of view. Uttar Pradesh to monitor migrants outside states. This is a very good thing. Migrant workers, how they are going to monitor, that is important. Objection to new mosque untenable. Farouk sees release of detainees. Nepal House dissolution and internal issue. Internal issue. We are not, India is not bothered about it. 9 business schools to compete in B block final. What is B block? What is B block? B block. Assets worth 4,000 attached in Ponzi scam. Old story. Don't see this face only. Don't see this. Don't see this. EU leaders hail post-Brexit deal. What is this Brexit deal? Just know what is this Brexit deal. Xi Jinping tightens grip on China, not required. Internal matter. Pearl killing, Pak court orders release of accused, not important. Census jumps, not required. Not required. Cash flows not rating by decide loans in future. Central Bank of India, not required. EY said to hire 9,000 professionals. What you will do? Nothing. iPhones up. No relic to the, yes. 2 additional IPL teams approved. What? Nothing. But just know the names. What are the 2 IPL teams? What are the 2 IPL teams? That's it. Cricket. Don't bother about it. As if only cricket is there in the world. Yes, finish. How many articles you got? 10 articles you got. Just tick it. Overall you got 10 articles from 25th December. 1 hour. Maximum 1.5 hours. Another 30 minutes, write notes. Underline it, write notes. Underline it, write notes. Don't cut it. I used to do cutting of the newspaper. That is also not correct. Write on the notes. Notes will be permanent. In this way, you have to do the newspaper. Again, rewatch it. Then you will understand properly. Everyone do subscribe to our channel. All the best. Thank you. Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas.